Hey everyone, I'm interviewing Jennifer from the Great Place to Work Institute, and you've probably seen the logo on many amazing organizations. And we wanted to take the first couple of minutes just to find out, what is the history of the Great Place to Work? It showed up, it's such a great thing, but what's the history, Jen? How did you come to be?
Hi, Sarah. Hello,
Hey.
Frog Nation. So Great Place to Work, we've been doing this focus on trust for over 30 years. We started in the 70s, in the height of the hippie era in San Francisco, with two labor union reporters that really were studying and researching, both of them academics, all the worst places to work. And out of this, what they slowly realized is that instead of calling out the poor performers, we can really make a difference in the world by setting a higher bar and calling out all the organizations that really are doing it right. And so they undertook quite an extensive study, researching thousands of organizations to look at, well, what is a great place to work? Mm-hmm. And what slowly evolved was an understanding that the differentiator between good and great is not about money. It's not about rooftop gardens. It's about this core sense of trust, and it's relationships. It comes down to one-to-one relationships. So as an employee, what is my experience when I come in every day? Mm-hmm. And there's three key relationships that we assess. So the first is the relationship between an employee and their manager, mm-hmm. and that's certainly the most complex. And then there's a relationship that we have, of course, with our coworkers. That's fairly straightforward. And the relationship we have with our own job. So that sense of pride and how do I feel about what it is that I do. So that's what we assess. And this concept has grown over the last 30 years. We started with a flagship list of 100 best companies to work for on Fortune. And year over year, we've added more and more of these lists in different countries. We're now up to 55 national lists around the world.
That's amazing.
Thank you. In Canada, our partner is the Globe and Mail, and we do each year the list of 100 best workplaces in Canada. And I can tell you, there's only one way to get on that list. It's if your employees put you there. And it is based on levels of trust.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I so love this momentum that you've been gaining. It just fits so beautifully with the positive psychology movement that also started to evolve around the same time too. And we realized that by focusing on what's working well and studying that, it's almost like that positive deviance concept that we gain so much traction, we gain so much more. So, let's jump into that space. What are some of the things that you have been finding lately that are essential for the people who are watching this video that they need to pay attention to and really nurture in their organizations to build high trust cultures?
Well, it really does come down to that core relationship between an employee and their manager. And there's three things within that relationship that we would look at. So the first is credibility. And that means, is your management consistently credible? Do they do the right things for the right reasons? And can I trust that all those values that are written on my company website, do my managers actually practice them? And so you can practice them by making sure that your people have access to open and transparent communication. That means sharing with them the good news and the bad news. Mm-hmm. It means walking the talk. So there's a bit of a checklist of things you can do to be a more credible leader. The second item that we assess to build trust is respect. And that's the flip side of credibility. Yeah. So if credibility is how I, as an employee, see my managers, respect then is how I feel they see or treat me. And this is a key piece of this is recognition. So it means this is so the work that Sarah, that you do is really important because we think that how you recognize people, how you thank them, and thanking them can also be giving them access to development and the tools and resources they need to do their job, treating people fairly without bias or discrimination based on personal characteristics. So these are all ways that people feel respected in the workplace. And then the final concept that we look at is fairness. So rewards and recognition, are they shared fairly? And this also ties in a bit to the work that you're doing with recognition, because we look at the degree to which people feel like they are full members of the organization, favoritism, or everybody has that opportunity to be recognized.
And it's so amazing how when you share all three of those elements, I can think of organizations that I'm currently working with, helping them rebuild their strategies. And when I give them feedback about what some of the people say are working or not working, it exactly beautifully falls into that model. So it's I think it's going to give me even more context to be able to help organizations that are really wanting to become great places to work or to stay on top, that context to understand why it's working, or if there's few things that aren't working, why that is. You know, I guess what I wanted to end by asking you is, if an organization isn't currently working with Great Place to Work, but they were serious about wanting to start on this journey, that as they may or may not like the results of what they hear, but they're serious about being a high trust organization, because the work that we've been seeing also that you've been doing with other partners, such as you have a colleague, I think, that you're doing a lot of work with out of the London School of Business, that's demonstrated high trust organizations are also the most economically viable, correct? That there's a big financial connection.
Yeah, and we've known for a long time that there's a correlation between high trust organizations and high performance. So we've done studies, we've tracked the stock market performance of our publicly traded clients, and there's a clear correlation. But what we're now starting to understand using advanced analytics is that there's actually a causality, that the trust is that precursor.
Right.
And we can see that when we do studies within an organization, and we've done a few large healthcare chains in the US, where we look at the degree to which individual managers can build trust in their specific work unit, and then we map that against patient satisfaction scores. So we can, it doesn't have to be just public stock performance. We can look at patient scores, we can look at community standing. There's a number of different key performance indicators that you can use to measure or map that. So anybody that's interested in joining this movement, we would welcome them. We try and ensure that cost is not a barrier. We want all organizations to participate, but step one is always assessment. So we can't evaluate or recognize your workplace until we know if it truly is a great workplace. And so we do that through a short, it's 10 to 15 minutes. It's an employee survey. We take care of all the details and try and make it as user-friendly and easy at your end as possible.
Well, I just want to acknowledge and frog Great Place to Work, not only for the work that you've been doing for the last 30 years, but also that you are true to your philosophy, that it needs to be the voice of the collective, as opposed to what we sometimes see in other awards out there that have come up since your organization has begun, where people want to have a title of a top employer, where you can, if you hire a great writer and you put together a fancy package and you put your best foot forward, then you can somehow convince. But I can tell you, being a member of those organizations that sometimes get that accolade, and it says, one of the reasons why you're a great place to work, they don't call it that, top employer, is because you have daycare. Well, it's like one location over there and there's 2 spots, like that's maybe 10, you know. So just a great example of how that process completely pulls apart trust, and it can have the opposite effect. So kudos to you for maintaining your philosophy of being true to your brand by making sure that the very first step and the most important driver in all of this work is what the collective voice of employees and leaders of the organization say, and then going from there. So it's awesome. So
Thanks,
good.
Sarah.
Yeah. Thank you for your time today, Jen. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And I'm excited to be able to share this with the people in the Your Greatness Magnified database.
And kudos to you and all the work that you do. We really believe that recognition is a path to great workplaces. So I think you've really landed on the right target.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. Have a great day.
Take care.